Hey, it's Angie with News OK. I'm out here at Wiley Post Airport where you can see behind us the B-17 bomber. It's Miss Liberty Belle. She's actually getting ready to take off with her third flight of media flights today. And I'm here with Sean, who is with the Liberty Foundation. This has been amazing. We went up for a flight, and obviously this is something that's open to the public as well. But tell us the unique, this plane was actually in World War II, or was one of the ones that flew in World War II, one of the examples?
Well, believe it or not, our airplane, although it's technically built in World War II, it was built in May of 1945. It actually was built too late to see combat. It is painted in the markings of the original Liberty Belle because our founder, Mr. Don Brooks, his father was a tail gunner on the original Liberty Belle, which flew over 60 combat missions, and unfortunately was too badly damaged to ever fly again once it made its way back to England. In fact, it barely made it back to England, and when it did, it was scrapped shortly thereafter right there in England and never even came back to the United States. But that's why we fly in the colors of the original Liberty Belle.
Tell us about this plane. You know, as we were walking, we were able to, in flight, walk up and walk through the plane itself. Tell us about what we saw.
Well, that's the neat thing about our tour, and we call it a flight experience because the simple fact is, as you're walking through the airplane, you're walking past the different flight crew members' positions, the waist guns. You'll be able to go through the radio room. You'll be able to walk through the bomb bay upwards towards the front of the airplane. You'll be able to stand up in the cockpit right behind the pilot and co-pilot during flight and see what it's like to fly a B-17. And of course, you'll be able to go up into the nose where the bombardier would be, right there in the very front of the nose. You'll be able to sit in the seat where the bombardier would be and even look through that Norden bomb sight that we have on board and see what it was like to sight in a bombing run back in the day.
I am in the nose of the B-17 bomber right now. This is actually up ahead, obviously, of the cockpit. You can see out in front of us. I am now at the back of the B-17 bomber. Very back of the plane, you can see back there, we're surrounded by machine guns. History is right here in this plane.
The purpose of our tour is to go ahead and be able to not only honor the vets and thank them for their service, but also to educate the public, and we just want to make sure that the memory never fades, and that the folks coming up through the generations in the coming years, really truly understand what a great sacrifice it was, and it was a sacrifice that was made by everybody, both overseas and on the home front. The B-17s were equipped with 13 50 caliber machine guns, and we had those on all different stations of the airplane, to the front, to the rear, and to the sides, and of course top and bottom. That's why they basically called it a flying fortress, because it had the defensive firepower to try and ward off the enemy fighters all the way to target and back, and those missions were several hours each way.
I was an engineer in the Navy.
In the Navy.
And I got a ride on a B-17.
There we go.
Biggest mistake I ever made in my life. I made one takeoff and no landings. I had to bail out.
I know it. So you actually had to parachute out of the plane.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. But today, you actually landed. How did it feel?
It felt great to come in for a landing,
I bet.
not have to jump.
Each and every stop, this airplane does draw out the veterans, and it's wonderful for us because of the fact that we get to thank them for their service firsthand, as well as hear some really, really good stories that they have to tell that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get out of a book or a DVD. And the neat thing, too, is that if you ask them a question, you can typically get an answer, and it's oftentimes not an answer that you'd be expecting.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us your website if people are wanting more information.
It's www.libertyfoundation.org, and our flights are 30-minute flights. You're only seated for takeoff and landing. That's $430 per person. We typically fly from about 10 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, and the ground tours are after the flights. There is no charge for those ground tours, but we'd gladly accept donations because it is extremely expensive to operate this airplane. In fact, we spend about $1 million a year to do what we do, bringing this airplane around to share with the public, because we know that not everybody has the ability to travel what could be thousands of miles to see one in person, much less experience one in flight.
Yeah.
So we bring it to the people.
Exactly. And you're coming to Oklahoma City for the public June 5th and 6th?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.